Just say salam.
Salam.
Okay, now go play in the back. Sneaky head. Alright. Okay, but only this once, okay?
Salam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, that's it. Spanky, over there. Nice. Okay. Okay, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What were your names again? Who's there? Take off your mask for a moment. Just want to see your face. You're doing so slow, like it's like some crazy reveal. Who's there? What was your name again? Zaki? Who's there? Yes, it was. Okay. What was your name again? Hamza. I thought you said it was okay. Hamza was there. Got it. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala amma ba'd. Good game outside, guys. It was a good game. I think my knees are going to be hurting tomorrow. Over there, in the back, guys. Anas, thank you. Okay, Bismillah. So we got to the part yet last week where Malcolm X had gone to prison. He was finally caught. And we know that the main reason, even from his own words, is the fact that there really seems to be a dislike and hatred for blacks at that point, black Americans. And so having said that, we are into the position now where Malcolm is in prison. And I spoke to you guys last week about this reality that, no, Anas, off there please, that if Malcolm was not in prison, if Malcolm had not, Uthman, just do your Quran, don't worry about them. If Malcolm had not gone there, his life would not have changed. You have to understand Allah puts you in positions for greatness. If those positions don't occur, good will not come out of it. And sometimes that means bad things will happen. But, you know, what's a bad thing? Anyone name me one bad thing that could happen in life? Arslan, what's one bad thing? Sorry? Relative could pass away. Excellent. What's another bad thing that could happen in life? Say again? Car accident. Okay, awesome. It's in the car. You can drink from the water fountain over here, okay? What's another bad thing that could happen in life? Yes? Either or. Sorry? Debt, yes, that's another thing, yes.
Papa.
Shark attack, absolutely. Okay, I need you to teach, okay? Thank you. And then I say I was not going to bring him back next week. 1, 2, I said that. I don't know. Okay. So, these things, death of a relative, shark attack, car accident. Now, let's think for a moment. What's a good thing that can come out of debt? D-E-B-T. You spend less, absolutely. You're not going to waste money, especially not waste money on haram, definitely. What's a good thing that can come out of a death of a relative? Hey guys, don't play with those blinds, please. What's something that can come out of a death of a relative? For me, one of the reasons I started trying to grow closer to Allah is the death of my friend while I was doing CPR on him. So death can actually remind you of the hereafter and bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's a good thing that come out of a car accident? Yes? Be more careful driving. You know, when I was younger, I would drive very fast. I'm not proud of it. And then, you know, I did get into an accident. I had friends who got I used to ride a motorcycle. My parents aren't listening, I don't think they know that. I had 3 friends who died in a motorcycle accident. 3 separate accidents. Guys, in the back, please. In the back. And so that sort of made me realize this is not a smart move. I wasn't married at that point. I didn't have kids yet. But just, I left it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it wasn't the best choice for me at that point in my life. Guys, I don't think you understand what I mean in the back. You have to be in the back. No, in the back. Because if you come here, then they all come here.
Listen.
In the back. Thank you. Shark attack. What's a good thing that comes out of shark attacks? Yes. Yeah. If you save yourself from that shark, you will learn to swim better than you've ever swum before. There's always good that will come out of something. We can't see it because humans are short-sighted. The people close to Allah, they often see it. They don't see what's going to happen. They see, there's a benefit in this for me. I was listening to Shaikh. Did you go to Shaykh Hashim's talk yesterday? It was for 16 years and older. It was after Asr prayer. Were you there at the Dar Islam program? He was the white convert scholar. Makkah. Yeah. Did you catch it? Yeah. So his life is crazy. Grew up in Colorado, and the family bought a Jude Ranch, a farm.
and then he was a musician. His family was like all like into that kind of stuff, and he moved to the Hollywood area, and then he went to go search for truth, and then traveled to Europe, to Paris, down to Spain, over to North Africa, and then eventually found Islam. I mean, he went through a lot of difficulties. He almost got arrested, sleeping on the side of the road, but it brought goodness to him. So Allah will put us through difficulty, and that difficulty will bring goodness to us. I can't stress that enough. Look, it's not easy every week being beaten by me in sports, but it'll make you a better person. That's what's going to happen. You have to. Simon's smiling. It's going to bring good out of you. You know, when I used to wrestle in high school, I had this really bad habit of wrestling people that I was better than in practice. So guess what happens out of practice when I get into the meets, when I get into the actual match against opponents? I would lose. I never learned to face adversity. Whereas I had friends who were in the same weight class or similar weight class who were really good. I never wrestled them, and they would wrestle like the varsity wrestlers, and then they eventually became varsity. And so it's the idea is you want to allow yourself to go through a little bit of hardship. Or don't seek it, but if you find it, don't be upset with it. Understand, inna ma'al usri yusra, with hardship will come ease. Yuridu Allah bikum al-yusra wa la yuridu bikum al-usra, that He wants for you good ease, does not want you for your hardship. And what was that? Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khayrun lakum. Perhaps you might hate something that's good for you. Now we get to prison with Malcom. Malcom X in prison. I told you, what was the nickname that he got? Yes. Satan, Shaitan, that's his nickname. So one day while he's in prison, and he's getting through a lot of trouble, put into the hole, put into solitary in prison, that's an even worse place to be in prison, he saw this person who was called Bimbi. Bimbi was sort of very rough, he was very gruff, and he was very straightforward, and he kept to himself. A lot of people gravitated towards him. A lot of people came to him, a lot of people talked to him, and what happened was Malcom, sorry, I have to sit this way, my knee's hurting again. Malcolm's like, look, I wasn't just an atheist. I was Satan. Listen, he literally says this here. What made me seek his friendship was when I heard him discuss religion. I consider myself beyond atheism. I was Satan. Like, forget atheism. Anas, quiet down. Anas. Thank you, Anas. Like, there's one thing to just be an atheist. They can come back. I was Satan. There was no coming back from me. But Bimbi put the atheist philosophy in a framework, so to speak. That ended my vicious cursing attacks. My approach sounded so weak alongside his and he never used a foul word. Meaning they would talk. And Malcom was attracted to his speech about religion. Not because he wanted to become a Muslim or whatever. He wanted to what? Show him how bad religion is. All this false stuff you're talking about, let me take you out. Let me defeat you. And Malcom would be cursing up a storm and saying all these things. Bimbi would just listen. And you know, you often hear people who are cursing, they're empty. You know, there's an old statement. The hollow pots make the most sound. You guys know what that means? Hollow pots make the most sound. You ever pick up a seashell and you put it to your ear, what do you hear? You ever pick up a seashell and put it to your ear? What? Yeah, it's like waves. You hear waves. If there's like a crab in there, can you hear that? No, you can't. It's not hollow. The crab has to leave. Like a hermit crab, if something's in there, it has to leave. The hollowness you can hear. That which is hollow makes the most sound. What does this mean? This means that those people who really are sure of themselves, they're not like, they never, the people who are sure of themselves, they're never like, what's up, what? You want a piece of, you want this? They never say that. Because they know, I don't need to say anything. The moment I have to prove it, I'm going to prove it. Game over, you're going to regret it. I know people who are black belts. I have friends who are in, my son's a black belt. My 2 sons are black belts. You're never going to see them talk about it, hopefully. Hopefully they're not going to use it. They're never going to use this. Why? Because a person who's sure of himself is not going to talk about it. The people who aren't sure, want this, or they're going to begin to try to discuss and debate. You meet most scholars. Scholars don't try to debate or discuss. They just stay quiet. If someone wants to talk with them, they'll speak. If someone doesn't, they don't mind. But the moment they speak, the moment they act, all this beauty comes out of it. So, how'd the haircut go? You doing good? No. You have pictures? No, not yet. Okay, cool. Like a Father's Day gift? Okay, do something. You line them up? All right. I need a haircut. Can you can you do something for this? No? Turkey? Oh, okay, that's messed up, dude. It's all sweaty and put the other one on. The non-plain dopey. I didn't try to match brown and brown. It just was the next dopey in the lineup. Okay, so the hollow pots always make the most sound, and Malcom saw this. Because the moment he began to speak and curse and everything, Bimbi just stayed quiet. Never cursing, never going off, just spoke eloquently, and Malcom had to be quiet because he realized this guy knows what he's talking about, and it left an impression. So that's the lesson we have to take from this today. Don't try to be who you're not. Meaning, look, if you're knowledgeable, etc., you know it. If you're good at something, you know it. If you're strong, you know it. You don't have to come and say, oh, Brother Saad, you're here? Let's see who can do more push-ups. You can do more than me. We don't have to have that contest. You can do more than me, no problem. Oh, Brother Saad, you think you have a fast car? Check out my car. Look, you already have a sports car. I drive a van. I know you're going to win. You don't have to. When you have something of value and quality, just be grateful. It will eventually show its goodness. And that's what happened with Malcom in prison. He didn't have anything. He was standing on nothing. But he could curse a lot and speak a lot. Bimbi had knowledge, at least for what he thought, and had information. When Malcom tried to debate him, Bimbi would rock him, would completely milk him dry. Nothing was there. So he says, out of the blue one day, Bimbi told me flatly, as was his way, that I had some brains if I used them. I had wanted his friendship, not that kind of advice. I might have cursed another convict, but nobody cursed Bimbi. He told me I should take advantage of the prison correspondence courses in the library. Now I'm going to stop over here for a moment. I'm going to lay a couple things out. Prison is a horrible place to be. Prison also has wonderful opportunities. I have a friend whose name I'm not going to mention. He just graduated from college. He left prison only a few years ago, but he was well-read. He was in his 40s, almost 50s, when I was in my mid-30s. So he's in his 50s now, but he was really well-read. And he was in prison for a long time. And really built, big guy, mashallah. And we were talking, and he's just like, I would go to the library, I would read everything they had. When I ran out of stuff to read, I would contact other prison libraries to send me information. It's what you make of it. SubhanAllah, you guys have education at your fingertips. You have Kindles, you have Kindle Fires, you have Apple, you have Macs, you have iPhones, you have Samsungs, you have all of these things there. But sometimes we just don't want to read. You know, this book, I'm not calling anyone out, so don't raise your hand. I'm going to say raise your hand, but don't raise your hand, okay? But raise your hand, again, don't raise it. Raise your hand if you picked up a copy since we started. Don't raise your hand. That way I don't know who did or didn't. Now do raise your hand. Raise your hand if you found some of this interesting so far. So a couple of you have found some of it interesting. Some of you are like, I really don't, but I just want to play sports, so I come here. Whatever. If you found it interesting, why not pick up the book? Why not get the PDF? It's an amazing, Shaykh Hisham, he was saying this is one of the books that changed his life. And so, the idea is that we have so much available. Like right now, in the other halaqah I do before I come here, the guys who are out of town, like the New York guys, the California guys, and the Wisconsin guys, we're covering the next book, which is called Khabib Time. It's about Khabib Nurmagomedov's life. And just the intro is so interesting. His coach, his dad, who's passed away, Allah yarhamhu, his manager, and his best friend in fighting, they all write different intros to it. It's really interesting the lessons you learn. But sometimes when you have something so readily available to you, you don't recognize how awesome of a gift you have. And that's really what happens to Muslims, especially educated Muslims. We have so much, we don't recognize what we have until we lose it. And Malcom, he had something. Now you might say, what did he have? He was brilliant through 8th grade. He was brilliant afterwards. He used it the wrong way. But he was brilliant through 8th grade, academically. Then he used that for street smarts after 8th grade. He was a brilliant man. You cannot come up with what he did at when they were trying to draft him for the army, or what he did a couple times when they almost caught him. You couldn't get away with that, except if you had his type of brains and insight. And Malcom said something interesting. When Bimbi, he's like, I wanted Bimbi's friendship. I didn't want that kind of advice. What did he want? And this is an important lesson. He wanted his type of friend. So what does that mean? Look, I become your friend. Anas, please leave there. Anas, leave. Thank you. So I become your friend. I'm like, hey, Uzair, when you're what sport do you like? Sorry? Basketball. You should come, we play ball. So you play basketball. I'm like, hey, who's there? Are you righty or lefty? Righty, okay. You really lean heavily to your right hand. You got to get your left hand stronger, so we have to guess which way you're going. Now you could be like, man, I don't want that advice. Or you can say, I don't know if it's true, I'm just giving an example. Or you can say, you know, that's true, and you can work on your left hand. In which situation would you become better? If you take the advice, right? Which situation is sweeter? Hey man, you have an awesome game. Or do you need to work on your left hand? Which one was sweeter to hear? Yeah, awesome game. But sometimes, and those are the types of people we want around us. We want the yes men. We want the people coming like after a band. Oh man, that's a great talk. Okay, thanks. That doesn't change anything. But the person comes and says, brother, it's a good talk, but you need to be more mindful not to speak so quickly. I have a problem speaking quickly. Or brother, it was a decent talk, but you need to choose your topics better. Those type of things help improve a person. So Malcom, when he got this, he said, I didn't want that type of advice. I just wanted his friendship. He basically wanted someone that he would be a friend with because they make him feel good, not because they better him. And most of our friends, look at your friend circle. Are your friend circle of people who just make you feel good because like, oh dude, you're awesome and I love you and sign my shoes or whatever the case may be? Or sign, not shine. Or are your friends those people who like, you're cool with, but they can give you advice? If it's the latter, you have good friends. If it's the former, you're not going to better yourself. Just like I didn't better myself in certain sports because I always went with those people who, I was in jiu-jitsu class at Dawood a few weeks back and I jacked up my knee. We had just ended class. Look, I'm 40. These kids are all like 15, 16. We have a couple 20-year-olds, I think one 30-year-old. I'm the oldest guy in the class. At the end of class, one of the guys who's a blue belt, he said, hey, you want to roll? I'm like, okay, fine. Now he's like 14, 15. I'm 40. I have 25, 26 years on him. So even though I'm not good, Hamna, Khadija, Anas, I want you to come sit here now, okay? Even though I'm not good, I knew just by virtue of strength. You guys know what dad's strength is? Dad's strength, like basketball player, LeBron James. LeBron James, if you see when he entered the league versus now, he was strong in both situations. Is he stronger now or earlier? Stronger now. He grew into a man's body. When you get about 20... Stay quiet, please. What happened? Okay, you're fine. Okay. Okay, you're fine too. Okay, so when you get to like 19, 20, 21, like you start, your bones like sort of become, I can't even describe it, but you can see like the shoulders broaden, the bones look like they broaden, it become thicker. You reach like this type of man strength. Like I remember my dad never lifted weights. But like he and my uncle, they would flex, like you'd see this muscle, like where did this muscle come from? And I was like in my room pumping weights all the time and never could get anything, sorry about that. There's an adult strength that you get. There's an adult wisdom that you get. All these things come with time.
Are you reading?
I will be reading, yes. And so with Malcom, what he wanted was someone who could just make him feel good. Now, when I was in jiu-jitsu, I had this adult strength. I'm 40, so to go against a guy who's 15, even though he's a blue belt and I'm a white belt, I'm not even a belt, like there's nothing, I'm still gonna win. Not because I'm good, just because I'm stronger. Then I rolled with someone else who was 15 or 16, who was bigger than me. He weighed more than me. Took him out, no problem. Then the teacher's like, let's roll. I'm older than him, not by much. I'm bigger than him, I'm not tall, but I'm a little wider than him, but not by much. But he's much more skilled than me. And he took me out, and he hurt me in the process. Well, what happens? If I'm like, I'm never gonna go with you again, I'm never gonna improve. But if you're with that person who gives you that bitter pill to swallow, that you're not as good as you think, and you have work that you need to do, that's how you improve. And that's what Bimbi was to Malcom. So Malcom thought to himself. And so he's thinking, now what should I do? He's like, I never studied something unless I had to hustle. I studied people so I could hustle people. I studied the streets so I could hustle in the streets. I always studied to hustle. So now he's like, what should I do? And he's like, I didn't know a verb from a house. And so his sister wrote him a letter, and she said that he should study English and penmanship, because whenever he would write to her, she's like, I can barely read what you're writing. And subhanAllah, have you ever met someone who's good at calligraphy? I have friends who work on calligraphy. I don't do calligraphy. And they're Anas, you need to quiet down. How many you move your foot off of him? Thank you.
Was it on him?
He was on his arm.
Oh.
There's so much perfection and beauty and care that's required, and he's a person of perfection, care, beauty. He always looks good, he speaks well, everything he does has ihsan, it has an effect. And so look, if your writing's not good, there's benefit in it. So anyway, Malcom began to figure out, okay, you know what? Let me get some books. And he began to get some basic books on grammar in a year. It didn't take a month. It didn't take a week. It took a year. He could write decently, legibly. And so he began to study English. He studied Latin as well. And Latin is important, but there's a whole different reason why. And so he began to study and read. Now, the reason I mentioned a year is you think to learn, review basic grammar and writing would take only a few days. When you lose something, it's gone, but he didn't give up hope. It wasn't like, man, I've been working on this for 4 days, I'm done. How many guys have you seen hit the gym, and after a week, like, I'm done. I've been working out every day. I haven't gotten bigger. Those are the people who are not going to succeed. Michael Jordan even was cut from his basketball team in high school, freshman or sophomore year. But that's when you keep persevering. And so what's happening over here is he keeps pushing himself, even though, what? It's not easy for him. And he takes on Latin, which is very difficult. And Latin as a language helps you understand the roots and the premise of English. Anyway, different story. But then, let's see.
Where are you on?
I'm going to skip some of this.
Why? Up.
Okay, let's go to this one. The next thing that Bimbi taught him was being proud of who he was. One of the earliest African-American baseball players, black baseball players, was who? Jackie Robinson, right? Jackie Robinson, he was brought on to the Brooklyn Dodgers, now the LA Dodgers. And when he would play, Malcolm would have his ear glued to the radio, he would say. Because look, earlier in his life, he always tried to look what? And be what? White. And later in his life, he began to see, Bimbi taught him, it's okay to be black. It's okay to be proud of being black. So I'm telling you guys, it's okay to be Desi. I grew up the anti-Desi. I don't speak Urdu. Have you heard me speak Urdu? It's funny. I speak like it's an Anglican Urdu.
But to say it a little, you know how to talk.
I could speak a little. I don't know what I would say. I forgot all my Urdu early on.
But you've been talking Urdu to Daddy.
Yeah, because they don't laugh at me too much.
don't laugh at you.
What can I say in Urdu? Tell me something I should say in Urdu.
Baba.
What should I say? Just tell me something. Sorry? मैं आज कुछ नहीं खाया. Is that right? Sorry? नहीं कुछ नहीं खाया आज. इसलिए अक्सर सुबह में मैं कुछ नहीं खाता. Is that correct? But how do I sound? Absolute white boy, right? Like I try to get the accent, I'm trying. But the thing is, like, I used to be fluent in Urdu. I actually didn't know English, even though I was born in America. I didn't know any English. But people used to, because in school I had to learn English. My parents, what happened? I smelled that because I was playing outside, okay? So don't come smell me, okay? Jeez, it feels subconscious. Jeez, it feels smelling. No, I smell it. I have to go home and shower, okay? Anyway, so I left, my parents stopped speaking Urdu in the home. I picked up only English. I forgot all my Urdu. Now, I wanted to learn Urdu. But every time I would start like this, people would make so much fun of me, I gave it up. When you're learning and trying to become better, you have to accept the bumps that come along the way, and that's what he did. And because people made fun of my Urdu, I stopped eating desi food. I didn't really like it, not desi food. It looks like I do, but I never wore desi clothes. I would only wear like jeans and a shirt. Only now, like after going to madrasa, I started wearing like kameez and pants or like a thobe. But that's not because of my Indo-Pak background or my Indian background. It's just because that's what we wore in madrasa. But the idea is that I was embarrassed I'm not anymore, but I was embarrassed to be desi. And that's what happens to a lot of people. You become embarrassed about who you are. So Bimbi taught Malcolm, become educated and don't be embarrassed of who you are. Being black does not mean being bad. It means being unique and special in a certain way. Just like being white is not being bad. It's being unique and special in a certain way. Just like being brown is not bad. It's being unique and special in a certain way. And so this is what Malcolm was taught. Now Malcolm, In the meantime, his brother Filbert had joined the Nation of Islam. Now, the Nation of Islam is not Sunni Islam. It's a whole different type of Islam we're going to talk about later. That's what Bimbi had followed. Then he found out that Reginald, his brother, also, and at the same time Wilfred, Hilda, Filbert, all of his siblings had become part of the Nation of Islam. And they were writing about it. And they told Malcolm that you need to stop smoking cigarettes, you need to stop eating pork. Malcolm was all up in that. So he spoke to Bimbi, and I wanted to consult Bimbi about it. And so he spoke to Bimbi, and he had like two intentions. One, he knew if he became Nation of Islam that he could leave prison earlier because they're very upright people. And two, he just wanted to become better. So he said quitting cigarettes wasn't going to be difficult. I conditioned my days in solitary without cigarettes because solitary confined me for a long period of time. After I read the letter, I finished the pack I had open. I haven't smoked another cigarette till this day. What a crazy, crazy thing that is. Understand, when a person smokes, how addicted. Anyone know someone who smokes? Don't tell me who. Anyone know someone who smokes? Are they able to? Have they tried to give it up before? Were they successful? It's not easy. It's not easy. That's why people who smoke, I don't call them out because it's not easy. There's a chemical dependency on it. Malcolm, he got the letter. He's like, okay, I have this open pack. He smoked it. He's like, that's it. 1948, 20 years, 15 years later, he's not smoking still. Why? Because he made resolve. And that's how Malcolm was. And these are some things that you gain from his life. And then he had to give up pork as well. And so at the prison, they serve that a lot because it's cheap meat. So they passed pork to him. So he thought to himself, and he said, I don't eat pork. And the funniest thing was the reaction and the way it spread. Everyone began to talk about it. In some way I was proud, he mentioned. And then later, that Malcolm says, he learned about when he was Sunni Muslim, that these are small steps he took towards Allah. But there's a hadith. If you take one step towards Allah, Allah will take 2 steps towards you. That's not actually how the hadith goes. I am my servant, says I am, guys, Hamna Khadija Anas, not up there, okay?
I know that surah.
If you come, if you remember me, I remember you to an audience greater than me. If you remember me, I remember you to myself. If you come to me, if you remember me to an audience, I remember you to an audience better than that, meaning to the angels. If you come to me walking, if you come to me a handspan, I come to you in arms. I come to you a fathom's length, an arm's length. If you come to me an arm's length, I go to you a fathom's length. If you come to me walking, I go to you running. Right? If you come to me walking, go to him running. And that's what Malcolm did. He took a couple steps towards Allah. Allah came running towards him, figuratively speaking. Guys, yes. If you take, brothers, sisters, whoever's listening, one step towards Allah, He will change your life. I can give you example after example after example. If one of you remind me next week, I will give you the example next week. And if you take one step towards Allah, how He will change your life, He'll flip it upside down. And I have friends who I've seen who are in the worst situations before, took a small step towards Allah, and now they're Hafid of Quran, they're ulama of deen, like Shaykh Hisham story, etc. That's what happens. So anyway, I'm going to stop with this over here because now we sort of get into how he educated himself and how he changed himself in prison. So we'll cover that next time, inshallah. Cool, guys? Any questions? No? Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanallah wa bihamdih. Subhanakallah wa bihamdih. Shemana. Astaghfirullah. Let's go ahead and pray, okay? He's at home.
Are you going to pray here?
We'll pray here or Darussalam, one of the 2 places, okay? Let's go. Get your shoes. Alright. How are you?
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن